Art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creativity. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing more than mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join our conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist and learn about their inspiration while we all enjoy the beauty of creativity. Welcome to Season 2 of Art Talk with John Cole Artist. Well, hey, good every day. I start off by fumbling my words. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to either watch this live, which would be really cool, or watching the replay, which is just as cool. So today is Tuesday, March something, 19th, 18th. It's some day in March. After a while, time becomes a non-thing. But I want to take the time to say thank you again for tuning in tonight. So tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Now, 2 weeks ago, I did a demonstration on how to do gold foil. Well, this week I thought I would really go out on a limb and do something called needle felting. Now, what is needle felting? Well, from what I can tell, it's a way of taking a fibrous material like wool or some kind of maybe a synthetic blend of fluffy material like the stuff you find in pillows and stuff like that, and then using a special tool to make some pretty amazing sculptures. Now, I've seen the real artists make some wonderful things. They'll make realistic, pet portraits of cats and of dogs. And I've seen them even make people and everything else. It's an amazing art form, but it's something that I've never really tried. Well, I stand corrected. I did try it once, but never finished the project. My wife and I were up in New Hampshire at the end of last year, and we thought we'd buy a couple needle felting kits. And I got to a certain point, folks, and I'm like, you know what? This is just horrible. I think I'll set it aside. So I thought I would brush that off tonight and take a look at it. Now, Heather, you're on. I want to say hi to Heather. She says, will you be making the llama? Well, it just so happens I have the llama kit, which is right here. But I think for tonight, because I'm not an expert in needle felting, I'm probably going to show you a little bit about how to do the process using my koala bear, which I'll show you what it looks like so far as we move along this process. And I also want to say hello to Christine. Christine's on. As a matter of fact, I think she's in the room right next door working on a jigsaw puzzle. She'll probably have the whole thing put together by the time we're done tonight. Oh, and Heather, that's a really good question. Where do you get the kit? We bought these kits at Hobby Lobby. They were $9.99 or something like that. But I would guess that probably Michael's and some other places have those as well. So what is needle felting? Well, again, it's a way of creating, it's a sculptural process, right? Where you take this fiber and then you can create things with it. And these kits are really cool because they give you all the supplies that you need. So let me show you really quick what the supplies are. First, this is what we're doing or working on, this cute little guy, which again, I have to laugh because where I am in the process does not look like this cute little guy so far, but that's okay because we don't have to be an expert in everything. We just have to have fun. So the kit itself comes with everything. It comes with the instructions, with all the materials. It comes with the tool that we use to actually do the needle felting. And I'll show you that right now. So, so we get a bag of all the ingredients. So what we see in here is just this, and excuse me for the noise, but we get this fibrous material. So it kind of looks like I could probably make a beard out of it if I didn't already have one. So we get this as part of our supplies, and I'll be showing you the demonstration on my desktop here in a second. We also get the needle pointing tool, which is quite sharp. Now, earlier, Michelle, who's a friend of mine, made a comment on the Facebook post when I was going to go live and actually do this demonstration to have a lot of Band-Aids. And I agree, because this is the pointer that we use. And what ends up happening with this is we're going to use this to basically shape those fibers into whatever it is that we're creating, whether or not it's a body, ears, a nose, a head, whatever. So we're going to use this tool. Now, they do give you with the kit this piece of squishy, I don't want to say it's styrofoam. It's like a really thick You know that stuff that that you could buy for little kids that's made out of that, like that rubbery kind of material? It's basically that, but it's super thick. So what'll happen is as we're doing the felting and we're poking in, we're going to end up poking into this here, if I can show you on the camera here, just like this, so that we don't poke our fingers. But to be honest with you, if I do curse tonight, it's because I stabbed myself. So I apologize in advance. So you get the needle, you also get the block here so that we don't kill ourselves or draw blood. And then lastly, we get our instruction set, which is pretty comprehensive. It's also in multiple languages for those that want to read Spanish or French. Part of it also is these are the basic shapes that we're going to be making out of this material. All right, so let me go ahead and shift over and add in the second camera. There we go. And let me get this out of the way. Now I am using my my iPhone as a second camera, so the quality is as good as it's going to get until I can get a second camera. But it should work for the purposes of this demonstration. All right, so here's all the instructions. And what I've done so far, and again, after I do what I'm going to do tonight, I'll show you exactly where I'm at in total. Oh, and Tracy's on. Hi, Tracy. Glad you have the chance to dial in. I appreciate that. I don't know why I keep saying dial in. I think I'm living in the 90s. All right, so here are the instructions. And what I've done so far is I've gotten up to making the head, the body, this chest piece. I've made the nose, put the nose on the head, and made his two eyes. Now, the instructions here say to go ahead and do the arms and legs, which I've tried. However, my leg doesn't look like a leg. So I think I'm going to put the leg aside. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to work on one of the ears because we've only got about half an hour and I want to really show you how this process works. So here's what we do. We have our pattern here, and this is what the ear is going to look like. It's going to look like this ovally shape here. And you'll notice that it's got this ragged edge because this is the part of the ear that's going to get connected onto the koala bear. All right. And we connect our pieces just like we make our shapes. We're going to use all these tools and we're going to make the shape fit that. Now, the one question that I don't know, and maybe somebody that's more of an expert than me could answer this because the instructions don't, or they're not very clear, is really how much of this material do we need to make that ear the proper way, right? Because we certainly don't want to use too much of it and we don't want to use not enough, right? So I'm just going to guess. I'm going to take a stab and just kind of roll this up a little bit and say maybe about that much. And by the way, this feels like human hair. It's not nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this stuff apart if I can. Nope, I can't. I'm going to need some scissors. So pardon me 1 second. It's a good thing I have a trusty pair of scissors handy. So what I'm going to do is figure out maybe right about here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off. Okay. I'll put this aside. And I want my ear to be about that shape using this amount of fur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it up like this and kind of leave a little bit off the end here, just as a very rough shape of what this thing's going to look like. Okay, so I'm just setting it here. It covers the pattern. And what I'm going to do with this next is I'm going to squish all this down because at the tip of this needle, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very clearly, but at the tip of the needle, it's actually has some other little hooks that face in the opposite direction. So in a way, we're not really sewing, but instead we're jamming fibers in. They're going to get wrapped around other fibers that's deeper inside what we're building, and they're all going to stick in there, and we're actually going to compact this, right? We're going to take this big fluffy thing, and we're going to make it into this compact shape, leaving enough at the left-hand side here so that we can connect it to our koala bear. So let's go ahead and get going. So I'm going to put my pattern aside for a moment. And now I need to be patient when I do this, because what's going to happen is, again, since we want to wrap all these fibers or intertwine them all together, we're going to start poking like this. And it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. So we're going to poke all over, because what we want to do is we want to get these fibers to stick together just by poking it in like this. So it takes a little bit of time to do this. Now, as we're doing this, I will say that I hope everybody's doing well tonight. My wife and I took a little trip out to do a little bit of shopping earlier today. I've decided to shift diets a little bit. My cholesterol was a bit high, so I've decided to shift over to salads. And I don't know if you're like me, but salads are good once in a while, but quite frankly, every night gets a little bit old. However, adding things like radishes and olives and things like that definitely makes a difference. So that's what we ended up doing today. And now you'll notice it's already starting to stick a little bit on the top. If I turn it to the side here, you can see this section sticking. So I'm going to just go ahead and flip it over, and I'm going to go ahead and start poking again. And this is all we're going to be doing, folks. I wish it was more exciting than this, but this is how this process works. We're just going to push all this stuff in, and it's all going to weave together. Now, they do make other devices like this needle, but with multiple points, maybe 5 or 6 around a circle. And what's really nice about that is you can, poke in 5 or 6 different places instead of just one place at a time. But for $10.99, or not $10.99, for $9.99 for a kit like this to just try out, I think it's a really good thing to give a go. I don't know if I would recommend this for small children. I think with the needle specifically, even as an adult, it's probably not the best thing I'm doing here, because I know me too well. I'm going to poke myself yet. And again, you'll see that now the other side is not as thick or as fluffy. So we're going to go through this whole process. And I see your comment, laugh out loud, salad is good, Heather. It is good. Won't argue. It's just having salads every night can kind of get old. And then another thing, of course, that's going on is in May, Heather as well. Heather's online. Her and I were going to be presenting a TED Talk down in Atlanta at I think it's a movie theater is what I think the venue is. And I think the date is May 16th. Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's May 16th. But having the opportunity to actually do a TEDx talk is a pretty big deal if you think about it, because that suggests that the messages are important and that we all have important things to pass along to other people. And I think that, yes, it is a movie theater, yes. And I think that's really important for all of us to understand, is that we all have stories, and our stories really need to be told, even if it's something as silly as making a felt koala bear. Now, again, you'll see that now it's starting to take form here, right? If I bring my pattern back, let's see how close I am. Still got a long way to go on it, so we'll keep plugging away. And what we can do also is take this, put it sideways, and kind of thin it out a little bit this way and squish it together, because we want it to be a little bit smaller. Now, what's really interesting is that as you do this, you wouldn't think this was the case. Yeah. Okay, so it's May 16th for the TEDx, and there's less than 20 tickets left. So now would be the time, folks, if you're interested to really hear some good speakers and hopefully give you some more, something to think about when you leave, because like I said, everybody has a story, and everybody's story is important. And the more we talk about that and the more we share, the less likely we're going to be to judge other people, because you'll find that many of the things that we think that we're going through, that we're all alone. But the fact of the matter is, you're absolutely not. Most everything that's ever happened to everybody has happened to somebody else. And when we talk about it, that's when the real healing can begin. So, but yeah, I think the TEDx and my speech, I'm going to be talking about actually that very topic, how we have the permission to change our own stories if we so choose. And that doesn't mean changing history. It just means changing the meaning behind what we believe, right? The stories that we believe. It's within our power to do that. So I'm still plunking along here, and I'm going to keep doing this until I can flatten it out a little bit more. And again, I'm trying to remember to keep a little bit of this here, because that's where I'm going to connect to my totally horrendous looking koala bear. Now, for those folks that might be listening in a car or something like that, what I'm doing is I'm taking my little needle device here, and I'm just stabbing away. I'm just going to town on this. And as I do this with this piece of, I don't know if it's wool, it's probably some kind of polyester or something like that. But this thing is getting smaller and smaller, and it's also getting more and more compact. So I'm going to push some over here to make sure this all stays together as well. And I'm just going to keep rotating this until I get it to the thickness that I want it to be. Just like this. Now, as far as next week, I'm looking for a guest for next week. So if anybody's watching this and you'd like to be a guest on my show, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I don't know which I like more, the interviews or these tutorial things, or these, I'll call them experiments, because sometimes that's what they are. This is more or less an experiment. But if you'd like to be on the show, just let me know. I'd love to have you. If you've been on before and you want to be on again, I say bring it, because I do like to talk, as you can tell. All right, this is looking more like an ear, kind of. But again, Heather says that seems very meditative. You know, it kind of is. It really kind of is. Oh, Megan and the kid crew are online. Megan and her husband, Tim, were my guests at the end of last year. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching me poke a bunch of holes in a big piece of fabric. But you know something, folks, when you try stuff like this, it really adds to just overall creativity. You don't have to be an expert in arts. You don't have to be an expert in crafts. You don't really need any of that. What you really need is just that special moment between you and yourself when you're doing something different, something creative. I'm a real strong, that looks almost like a peach pit, doesn't it? I'm a real strong proponent of trying new things, of using art not only as a meditative process, using Heather's words, but also as a form of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a good way to settle your mind. So I guess meditative is the right way of putting it, although I'm not a, in general, meditative person. But it is a good way to kind of release, because you don't really need to think when you're doing crafts. Yeah, there's probably some technique involved. You want to make sure your eyes are on straight, or that, whatever it is you're doing, that you have the right paints on, the ones that you want. You want to make it look the way you want it. But really, it's not really the end result that's the fun part. It's the actual creating it. And it doesn't really matter if it goes on your wall, or if it just, like me, I've probably got about a half a dozen paintings sitting in my closet right now, because I've got no place to put them, but I kind of like them, so I don't necessarily want to get rid of them. Actually, that's not a bad looking ear. Okay, let's see how it looks on the paper. Let's see how close we're getting. All right, now this ear here, if we notice, has kind of a bend at the bottom. This one doesn't, so I'm going to go ahead and add in a bend real quick. And then we're going to try to put it all on the ugly koala bear. There we go. So I'm going to try to, and this is why it's a very sculptural process, right? Is that depending on how much you do this needling on, and notice I'm starting to change the shape along the top here already. It's already starting to bend in a little bit. It's a little kind of a little bit hard to see on the camera, but we're compressing these fibers in the direction that we want them to go. All right, and the more you do this, the more compacted the fibers become, which is really quite interesting, because had I never tried this, I never would have thought that that was possible, because again, it's just basically a bunch of hair. Now you can see that's a significant bend now right here at the top. I think you can see that. All right, let's see how close we are with this ear. Now, the hard part for me, of course, is I'm going to end up making 2 ears altogether, and see, that's getting a little bit better. So I could probably compress the top a little bit here, and then we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of white in there, because if you look at the patterns, it shows there's a little bit of white in his ear. So I'm just going to push this in. Megan writes, I love all these new art modalities you're trying. Very inspiring. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's fun to try different things. When I shifted from acrylic painting to oil painting, even though it's still paint, I mean, that was a huge leap for me, because oil painting really is completely different. It's a different processes involved, different drying times, different ways that you apply the paint, as far as whether or not it's dark to light, light to dark. Everything has its little nuances. The beautiful thing is it doesn't have to be any certain way. There's no specific process you need to follow. It's just, again, it's just the painting itself, right? All right, here we go. All right. So I think that should be a decent looking ear compared to what I'm building. Let's take a look at this, see how close we are. Well, you know, almost looks like a chicken leg, but that's okay. I'll take a chicken leg. All right, and then it says take a little bit of the white and we're going to put it on the inside of the ear. So that's going to be the next step, and then we're going to try to apply the ear to the koala bear. Okay, so here is my ear. Okay, I still got this part hanging here that I'm going to connect up, and I'm going to go back into my bag and pull out a little bit of white here, and we'll might have to grab the scissors again. Let's take, oh, I don't know. I'll just take a rough guess because, again, it doesn't really tell you how much to use. I'll probably cut off, I don't know, this much. We'll see if that works. And of course, the next question you guys would be is if you want to see me try something different in a couple weeks, what do you think I should try? Is there anything you guys have been interested in that you've never experimented with that might be fun to watch somebody fumble with? If so, let me know because I'm willing to give anything a go. And now to connect these two, it's the same process. We're just going to needle this stuff into the felt that's, or into the fabric that's underneath. You know, doing something as basic as this does make me wonder how people get so good at it. I mean, sometimes just Google that, you know, do Google search for needle felting and see what you come up with. So people have done some amazing things. See how that's all connecting right in there? I don't know if it's easy to see there, but I'm just going to go around this shape here, and I'm basically pushing the white into the gray underneath. So I'm going to be careful not to get too much over. And again, I'm sorry if the view isn't that great, but the cell phone camera, and then combined with the data rate, or not the data rate, the resolution of StreamYard right now doesn't give us necessarily the highest quality. Now this is where I'm going to poke my finger if I'm not careful, because I'm going in real close here. Break some of this up, poke it in here. Bo says something with dinosaurs. Okay. Yeah, look at that. That's like the best ear I have ever seen. Okay. So I'm just going to, and you can over poke. Now, this sounds like a really weird thing to say. Watch you don't over poke, but you can. If you continue to poke and poke and poke, you can take your, you know, your very fibrous fabric and turn it into really quite a hard little. As a matter of fact, I can feel it now when I'm doing this. I can feel that it's so thick now and so tight under here, because you can see that I took that piece and it's pretty compact right now. If you over poke it, it might either end up smaller than you want, or it'll end up looking really weird. There, that's not too bad considering we did this in a very short. Okay, so there's my ear. Yes, it absolutely does look like a chicken leg. I admit it. All right, so that part's done. All right, you ready to see? Are you ready to see the koala bear that I've done so far? All right. Now, first, let me remind you, this is what the koala bear looks like. And this is what I have built so far. I don't know about you, but that does not look like that koala bear. This looks like, I don't know what the heck this thing looks like, but anyway. So now you know why I stopped. I'm like, oh my God, it looks horrible. But maybe it'll look better once we get some ears on it. So let's go ahead and put this ear on, and we'll see how it looks. So I'm going to fold this just a little. And the ear, oh my heavens, it's going to look like a mouse. This is absolutely hilarious. All right. So I'll just accept the mouse for who he is, and I'm going to start poking through this guy here. Careful not to stab myself. And what I can do is I can hook these to, it looks like a duck. It's cute though. Yeah, I know, doesn't it? It's something. But that's okay. Like I said, it's fun to do this. It's fun to do these different types of projects. And, you know, with anything, you know, the more you practice something, the easier it becomes, you know, and that's kind of like something I think we all need to keep in life. Oh my heavens. not only with doing crafts like this, but just everything in general in life, is not everything's going to come easy. I mean, for me, sometimes people think that things come easy for me, but they really don't. I struggle with a lot. I struggle with public speaking. I struggle with, the paintings that I do. I struggle with the writing I do. People have suggested, and part of me agrees, that I tend to be more of a perfectionist than I need to be. Working on that, though. I'm trying to see that, if I'm going to be a piano player, I'm not going to sit down at the piano and just bang out a piece by Beethoven or something like that, right? It's going to take some time to learn. There really isn't an easy path when you're learning things, because you're going to make mistakes up front, and that's okay. Oh, look at that. The ear's sticking on there. So let me poke this down. You guys see that all right, where we're coming? Oh, jeez, that's horrible. But it's fun. It's just fun to try different things, that goes for traveling. It goes for meeting people. It's fun to meet new people, right? Fun to, sometimes it's fun to move too, right? I've moved enough times in my life where that can be an enjoyable experience as well. So what I'm doing is I'm just poking around. I'm going to poke a little bit more up on his head here. Make sure that his ear doesn't fall off. And I can feel that his head is pretty thick. Oh, this is just the funniest thing. Oops, sorry if I hit the microphone, folks. There we go. So I'm just poking, being careful not to jam my fingers. And let me just do this bottom part to make sure this is all in good. And I think we will have an ear put on this silly little koala bear. Well, I certainly hope that this has been interesting to watch or listen to. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this at all. This is really only the second time I've tried it, but I wanted to give you an idea, a couple things really. The first thing is that it's kind of fun to try something like this. The kits aren't that expensive, and also to remind you that we can do silly things like this once in a while and really not worry about being an expert in it, because again, it's not about that. So there, that's my little koala bear ear. So there he is, folks. You tell me that ain't the cutest little thing. Look at that. Do you just imagine another big floppy ear over here? And here's the leg I did, which almost looks like a Bigfoot leg, I think. Or is it a hand? I don't know. It's something. This is either a hand or a leg, and then that'll go here. It's weird looking, but it's fun, and that's really the important part. So let me tidy up here a little bit and get this stuff out of the way. There we go. So that is needle felting. Now, nowhere near as, that's adorable. Heather says, thanks. I appreciate that. It's nowhere near as great as some of the ones I've seen online, but I don't know, maybe with a little massaging, a little practice, this might look like a realistic koala bear. Maybe not. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy day to, Heather says you try crocheting. Now, there's something I used to be able to crochet a chain. I think that's as much crocheting as I ever learned. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch me work on some needle felting tonight. I really love doing these podcasts, and I love it when you folks engage with me. And it's very meaningful to me, and I want to say thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. So next week, I don't have anybody lined up yet, but I will. If not, maybe we'll put the other ear on our koala bear. I don't know. Anyway, you guys have a great night. I will talk to you guys next week. See ya. Thank you so very much for joining me on the ARTalk podcast, where it's my goal to bring artists together to talk about their craft. If you'd like to join me for a conversation, please reach out via email at johncoleartist@gmail.com or by visiting my website at johnrobertcole.com. So until next time, keep crafting, painting, and inspiring others with your creativity. You make more of an impact than you know. See ya.